From the Homestead Studios in Santa Clarita, California, this is a Headache Soul production. Welcome to Just the Tip-Sters, America's favorite true crime podcast, and I'm your host, Melissa the Stallion.
It was amazing that you kept your voice so steady while you were twerking. Yeah, I couldn't even.
I'm good at like that. It's breath control, and yeah, I'm twerking right now on my microphone, and Joshua's uncomfortable in his workplace.
Are you going to do this the whole time we're talking about murder?
I am, because I'm disrespectful as fuck. Hi, I'm your host, Melissa Morgan. No one's ever called me a stallion. And with me today is my lovely and talented co-host, Joshua Bevan. Say hi, Joshua.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I have you all right. Mm-hmm. That's what everyone thinks, that we're having each other. Well, should we let them know? Or we just make them think?
Whatever, think what you want.
Yeah, think what you want, people. So we have lots of announcements and long over, and everyone's wondering why Joshua's laughing. Because you don't know what happens when we have to stop recording sometimes. So I tickle him with the feather. Mm-hmm. So there are some long overdue thank yous. I think I said thank you to Charmaine in Canada because she said I don't sound like a dude, which is really nice because Canadians don't get me. And I love them, but Canadians don't really like me. But she has subsequently sent some more suggestions for cases like serial killers from around the world, which I love that, except I don't like talking about serial killers. But she gave me a list of them from Canada and then suggested I move on to Australia. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
Like we're going to do a whole tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tour of assholes. I don't like serials. I like serials in that I enjoy the mental acrobatics and people that figure out why they do what they do.
Sure.
But I don't know that I could talk at length a long time about them. I don't know that I can do that. Anyway, again, thank you, Charmaine. She also gave me a case from Tennessee that I also did not want to cover. And I was convinced I had covered it previously. And it's a woman named Jessica Chambers. And I think I may have just mentioned it in a Murder Tizer. I don't think I covered the whole case because I think other people know how to do it beautifully. I think there was a documentary on Oxygen. She was a young girl. I hesitate to cover cases that other people have covered like extensively because, I always feel like they can do a better job. And I'm not putting myself down. I'm saying that they have more resources, like a television budget or producers or whatever.
That's fair.
Quentin Tellis, who has been tried twice for her murder. I have to find out the details, but he is accused of her murder. And he is now accused of a murder in another state of another woman that's particularly heinous. Jessica's case was very bad because he did terrible things to her, and I think he thought she was dead, and she wasn't, and he set her on fire. Oh, no. And she didn't die until the next day.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, I love you, Charmaine, and thank you for your emails. I will consider covering this, but it's just it's a tough one. So here is a moment in the life of a podcaster. I think I mentioned to you, didn't I? Oh, no, I didn't mention to Joshua. I mentioned it to someone else. I got 2 separate emails this week, one that dashed me on the rocks and one that gave me hope for humanity.
Okay.
I guess I didn't tell you about that because your eyes got big.
No.
So early in the week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, I come home to an email from a young woman who says, "Shame on you. My friend is missing. Why is his case your content? Shame on you for what you do. Shame on you, shame on you. This is how he should be remembered." And it's a picture of him on the beach, turned to the side, and it's blurry. No context. And I recognized him. It's Dane Elkins. So I'm going to say this. Dane, and I have the most empathy for his mother, Deborah. I cannot imagine what it's like. Dane walked away from his life on his own. Dane has unmedicated mental health issues and felt he was being tracked and followed. I don't know if you remember this story, Joshua, because let me get the details and you might. December of 2020, he left his Tesla on the 5 freeway just north of Castaic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew. If you just give me a minute to actually explain it before you go. No, I don't. I knew you might remember it because it was his beautiful Tesla was left with 4 flat tires,
Right.
which is almost an impossibility unless
Right.
someone.
Unless
Yeah. I was asked to cover his case, and I hate missing persons cases. I hate missing persons cases. I hate them. A lot of times they come back on their own, and if they don't, it's usually a terrible ending. I really hate covering missing persons, and I've been asked, and I do.
Sure.
And I might just say no from now on because of this young woman's terrible email to me. Crushing, awful, condescending, misspelled, awful email to me saying what a terrible person I am. Dane was not murdered. The police, his family say there's no foul play. He has been on the streets for 2 years. He has been cited a million different places, including Santa Clarita when he first went missing. Mark and I went and handed out flyers in front of Ralph's.
Oh, wow.
I took, it was January and it was rainy, and we took ponchos to homeless people. Said, here's a poncho so you're covered in the rain. Did you happen to see this guy? I don't think a lot of podcasters do that.
Yeah.
And this young lady doesn't understand how life works. And I emailed her back and she said, thanks for your reply. Shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. So I blocked her.
Sure.
She kept me awake for a couple nights. And I thought, you know what? She doesn't deserve any more time. So a day later, I get an email from Tip-Sters Suzanne in Kentucky, who restored my faith in humanity. She found information that I had put out about the Randy Sellers case, a case that's, close to my heart that I've probably devoted 4 episodes to. I've interviewed the detective who was in charge of his case, who is no longer in law enforcement, which I applaud. Good riddance, Brian Jones. And I just recently got a text from a Kentucky State Police detective who asked me questions, which I was happy to answer because he's opening back up Randy's case. And it's never been closed because Randy's missing, but we all know what happened to Randy. He was killed by some cops. So in a very rural area. I'm going to say that. And I don't care how rude it sounds. That's in all likelihood what happened. Obviously, I don't have proof or they would be arrested because there's still 2 of them that are alive. So Suzanne doesn't know what she did for me, but she made a huge difference in how I feel after getting a really terrible email. This woman was misguided and filled with vitriol. And Tip-Sters Suzanne, I thanked her. She said, thank you for, being authentic, and your compassion for these cases stands out. And I was like, you don't even know what you've done for me, because I was down pretty far about this other email. And she said, my mentor says, be a goldfish, meaning let those things slip from your memory.
Oh,
and she said, yeah, like Ellen DeGeneres' Dory. And she said, your job in capitals is humanity. And humanity is really freaking messy. Luckily, it can also be beautiful. Thank you for being a seeker. I'm crying. Thank you for being a seeker of truth and beauty in this messy world. I mean, she just literally has no idea.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, she's a beautiful writer, but obviously a beautiful human being. And she said other things that were so meaningful about Randy's case. And she's, again, one of the people that I think gives me faith in humanity.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. She doesn't know what a gift she is to me. And then one last thank you to Tipster Allison, who sent me one of her, patented huge boxes of 1,000 gifts. And I opened it up like a little selfish, shitty kid. And then I was like, oh no, should I have saved it for Christmas? And she said, no, you should have opened it when you needed a pick-me-up. And I'm glad you opened it.
Oh.
Yeah. So Tipster Allison sent me amazing things like coasters that say, don't fuck up my table, bitch. And I mean, just like fantastic things.
That's you.
Yeah.
That's you for sure.
Yeah. She's, Allison is, it's amazing how people who live across the country are, become your friends. They become your friends, really. And you don't have to meet people in person for them to be your friend. And Allison is a terrific friend. Yeah. So one last update, I swear, not a thank you, but an update. Episode 133 is Crystal Marlar, and I interviewed her grandmother, Lorella. And apparently a listener said that spurred him to call me and give me a completely different theory. The working theory when Crystal went missing, I believe it was 1998, and then found later by turkey hunters, is that there were some brothers that were involved in her disappearance and then murder. This tipster's information, while I'm going to call it at this point hearsay, I did promise him I would try and find someone who would help him investigate it. He actually said he had spoken to the FBI. I don't know that he had spoken to the state attorney general, which is who I suggested people talk to after that episode, because even Crystal's grandmother said that the local police department was very corrupt. It's a very small town in Kentucky. It's actually close to the border of Tennessee, and it's McCreary County. And I actually found way too many things online that said, if you need to dump a body, dump it in McCreary County.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But Crystal was found. She's not still missing. We know what happened, but we don't know exactly what happened, because by the time they found her, there was no, clear-cut evidence. And the two young men who were said to have done this have both passed away. So there might be more updates on Crystal's case. And now that I've spent way too much time talking. This was sent to me by a listener. And again, I was like, I don't want to do this because it's young people.
Oh, no. Okay.
And it bothers me really bad because I just feel like, I know Joshua's probably going to have some opinions. I have some opinions. I don't even know what to say about this, but I'm just going to have to say it. So June of 2008, a young girl in Arizona, Meaghan Rice, had taken a new boyfriend named David Paulson. And she had been dating a young man named Randal, I'm going to say Mercier. I don't know if it's pronounced the French way. It's Mercier.
Okay.
Might be Mercier, but I've heard it in news reports as Mercier. So I hate it when people don't get names right. But so David Paulson, 17, and his girlfriend, Meaghan Rice, 16, in the morning, planned this. I mean, I don't know how you get around the premeditation of this. And no matter what they said to try and explain away their actions, there aren't any. Meaghan was going to pick up her ex-boyfriend, Randal, and who was very excited to be back in town because he and his mother had been in Ohio caring for his sister, who died at the age of 20 of Huntington's disease, which is like the worst thing you can imagine, other than like ALS. They're very similar, and it's genetic and terrible. And so he had come back to Arizona, and her previous boyfriend, David, had gone to rehab and been, his parents were like, Megan's not a good influence on you. They had tried to kind of separate him from her, and that whole Romeo and Juliet shit.
Of course.
Somebody's going to die.
Of course.
They don't have to, but I guess it is going to happen. So the planning, which, believe it or not, this case is so old, they found digital evidence on MySpace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 2008, there wasn't,
Got it.
Yeah. So on MySpace, they found messages back and forth between Meaghan and David. David was under blankets in the back of Megan's father's pickup truck. She goes to pick up Randal, and he's very excited to get to see her.
Mm-hmm.
She said David is going to live with his mother in Salt Lake City, so now we can pick back up where we left off.
Okay.
She picks Randal up, and the way it's told, and who knows, there's only two people alive left to tell the story, and I don't trust either of them, but that David came out from underneath the blanket and started attacking Randal and stabbed him many, many times. At one point, he said, "Let me out of this car," and they let him out, and it was in front of David Paulson's house.
Oh, wow.
And he ended up dying in a ditch. Now, the reason that it was in front of David Paulson's house is that Meaghan was driving Randal through the small town, through the area of Apache Junction, and said, that's David's house. And that was the code.
Oh, oh gosh. Okay.
And David came up from underneath the blankets and stabbed Randal. The police don't think that he got to the ditch by himself, but both of them said he did. He was stabbed in, the head, the neck, the arms, the legs. And they think that they carried him there. There was so much blood loss in the truck. They tried to clean it. Of course, that wasn't going to work. They covered it with the blankets that David was hiding under. They go back. David walks back to his house, not far from Meaghan's. He's in his house. And then his grandparents take him to the airport, where he leaves for Salt Lake City to go live with his mom.
Oh, that part was true?
Yeah.
Okay.
And his grandparents know nothing about, what's happened a few hours before they take their grandson.
Why?
Right. Here we go.
Okay.
Meaghan goes to her father and wakes him up and says, "Dad, somebody with black hair broke in, held me at gunpoint, and took the keys to your truck." Like broke into her bedroom. Black hair, that's all she remembered. Her dad calls the police. So they're looking for, a stolen vehicle and a dangerous man with a gun who threatened a 16-year-old, very beautiful girl. So the police separate Meaghan and her father, and the more they talk to her, the more they realize her story is not making sense. So when separated, Meaghan and her father have two different stories. The police wonder, why is Meaghan freshly showered? Like, why would you take a shower before telling your dad that his truck was stolen at gunpoint?
Yeah.
Right. So while they're looking for a stolen truck, they find a dead young man in a ditch. Yeah. And they assume that it's David Paulson because he had dyed his hair black.
Oh, okay.
And he was missing because his grandparents had put him on a plane.
I'm sorry. They assume that David Paulson did it.
No, they assumed that David Paulson's dead. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's confusing. I apologize.
Sure.
So it's like David Paulson is missing, even though he's on a plane to his mother's. So it's dark. They can't figure out who it is because it's dark. A wallet falls out, and it turns out it's Randal Mercier.
Okay.
So now they know who it is, and his friends, who we're going to hear from in a clip in a minute that was on an Oxygen documentary. I don't know if it was on Snapped or if it was on something called She Made Me Do It, because I've seen a couple of different things about his case. His friends, in the meantime, have called police stations because Randal's missing.
They're looking for him. Okay.
Police stations, morgues, and they find where he is. One of his friends has to tell his mother.
Oh, no.
Where her son is.
Oh, wow.
There are 500 people who show up for a candlelight vigil for him, and 400 people attend his funeral, which for a 17-year-old boy, that's a pretty good amount of people. I think there was a lot of support for, what happened to him. And this clip that you're going to hear now, I think his friends are amazing spokespersons for what happened and what should happen as far as people who do this.
David was pretty much taken right away. I had no contact other than once they brought him back, I would go see him in jail, kind of just visit him, talking to him as a friend. But in jail, you're not going to ask, hey, what happened, So I kind of it was just friends talking to friends. I mean, David's gone, we lost a friend too. We're not going to be able to see him till he's an adult. I mean, he's going to be an older man by the time we get to see him. I mean, you're losing your friend, and you don't have those freedoms anymore to call and say, hey, how are you doing? It's just, you get told when to go to bed. I mean, he lost a lot, and you lost a friend as well.
Throughout the process of the trial, I hope to have an understanding, not for myself, but for what happened, from our community perspective, from David's family, from Meaghan's family, from Randal's family, just to understand what happened, because I think at the end of the day, to know what happened that night is important for his family. For knowing what happened that night is important for Randal's family to move forward. I think that there was information that did not fully come out, possibly, that gave me an understanding of what happened that night. I don't feel like the full truth has come out through the trial or through different news articles. I think that the truth still lies somewhere between Meaghan, David, and Randal, and we'll never know what truly happened that night, the actual events that took place. Understanding doesn't change the outcome, but it would give some closure, I think, for everyone involved to understand the role that each person played, just to move forward.
I think they both deserved more time, but I mean, even, I don't know, I think even being locked up away is, you know, when you're dead, you can't get up and, you're dead, you're gone, you know, you can't come back from being dead, you can come back from going to jail, you know, so it's a trip to me, and this whole, like I said, it affected me so much as a kid. You're being molded into the person you're gonna be in your life, you know, and so this horrific crime that happened not only like affected the city, you know, and everybody in it, but like it, you know, it changed my life forever. I still today suffer from the, you know, the issues from it and trying to numb the emotions and not deal with them, and it's affected me in, you know, how I view the world and see myself and see people, and, you know, this one crime affected so many people, so, you know, it made a big impact on our city, and it was a crime that shouldn't have happened.
Wow.
Randal's friends, and you know, these people were friends with David too, because, you know, Joshua pointed out it's a small town,
Yeah.
and I think they spoke beautifully and said volumes in their, you know, short speeches.
That's amazing. Like, to have that kind of an awareness, personal awareness at so young.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It was, you know, 2011 by the time that they came to trial.
Mhm.
So she was, you know, however old, she was 19, and and David was 20, whatever. She was given 12 and a half years because they cut a deal with her, because the Pinal County district attorney wanted the person who actually inflicted the harm onto Randal.
Oh, so because Meaghan gave David up,
Mm-hmm.
she only got 12 and a half years, even though from the
She's the
story,
mastermind.
it sounds
Right.
like she masterminded the whole thing.
So David got a life sentence, and but things have changed, and I guess he is eligible for parole in like 2033. Meaghan got out in 2020.
She's out.
She's 9
She's
years.
running around. Okay.
I have issues with there being such a difference in their sentencing. I understand David did the act that killed Randal.
Mm-hmm.
Meaghan was the mastermind.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people say, you know, Charles Manson never killed anyone. Yeah, you're right, he didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
should he not have done life in prison for the number of people that he had other people kill? Or
yeah, it seems to me like that's like next level twisted. Is like, yes, you know, jilted lover, whatever it is, you in a rage, you make mistakes and you choose to kill somebody. Yeah. But then the next level of, I'm going to plot and twist and convince somebody else to commit such a heinous, oh, wow.
Planned, premeditated, two boys, you know, hormonally driven, you know, pitted against each other.
Right.
And I feel like she should have been given the longest sentence. There are a few things that, you know, they both ended up pointing the finger at each other. Meaghan said David came up with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
However, they did find, you know, digital evidence that Meaghan came up with the plan and convinced David. There was an iPod and brass knuckles removed from the bloody, bloody, bloody truck, Meaghan's father's truck, and those did belong to Randal. There was a knot on the back of David's head and a laceration on his arm when his mother picked him up at the airport at Salt Lake City. She took him
he
to...
fought back.
No, that's the killer.
No, but I mean Randal fought back
yes.
as David was stabbing him. He got a couple
even though
of
it
hits
was
in.
like from behind.
Sure.
His mother took him to urgent care and, to get things treated. And it really didn't take long before it was known to everyone that it was, David had killed Randal.
Mm-hmm.
So it took a federal task force fugitive, to get him back. But they arrested him at his mother's house without much incident. And his, defense attorney tried to say it was Randal under the blanket and that David was protecting himself. But it's interesting that he only had a bump on the back of his head and a laceration to his arm, and Randal had over 20 stab wounds.
Huh. So that was the story. That was the defense story that they went with, was that they had swapped it.
Yeah. I feel like the digital footprint shows Meaghan orchestrated it, and she developed this with David, not Randal. Mm-hmm. So you can say whatever you want. I have the feeling the defense attorneys didn't understand how important chats from MySpace would become.
Sure.
I mean, it's a viable defense. You'll do anything you can to get your client off. And if it's self-defense, this kid came at me and I was the one that was,
Yeah, well, and without enough information, like it sounds, I don't know, it sounds like a feasible thing that would happen.
Right.
Like,
two young boys fighting.
Boys fighting, and then
one ends up dead, and he's like, "Oh my God, he died!" And I was just defending myself, and I'm scared, and I'm going to run.
Right. And then I'll run to Salt Lake City, and
I'm going there anyway. So
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm still. This girl is.
Oh, but wait.
Oh, there's more. Oh no.
Yes, sir.
Oh no.
She was voted one of the hottest women in prison in 2016.
Oh my gosh.
And she appears on a pen pal website called dateaninmate.com.
Oh no. So you're telling me she's single?
Yes, she's up. Are you saying there's a chance? Yes, Joshua. There's a chance. And she's out now.
I mean,
I don't know that you're going to survive this.
Judging from my dating history, like I'm a little intrigued at this moment.
Of course you are, because you have definitely your picker's not broken. God. Not at all with the broken picker.
No.
So I found a letter that a man wrote to her.
Oh, one of her pen pals.
Yeah.
Oh no.
His name is Vincent. How are you? I hope things are fine. I noticed you were in prison until the year 2020 and you were born in 1991. That's a shame to hear. A young mind is a terrible thing to waste. Mm-hmm. I too know the pains of getting in the wrong crowd in my youth only to have it backfire. You seem motivated to change though, and I hope that's the path you're taking at the moment. In your profile, you say you smoke. How do you smoke in prison? I thought they banned cigarettes in correctional facilities, but I could be wrong. Obviously, you would know better than I would.
Obviously.
What do you do for fun to pass the time? Do you like to read? If so, what kind of books? I feel like if I were in prison, I would work out a lot. Weird flex, dude, but whatever.
Sure.
Like a whole lot. If I didn't have an amazing set of abs and biceps already, there'd be no excuse that I could pull out. You know what I mean? Anyway, I hope after you get out, you finish your education and pursue a degree of some sort. If you could have any job in the world, what would it be? Best, V.
V. Oh, thank you, V.
Yeah, thanks, Vincent. If I didn't already have an amazing set of abs and a giant cock.
I'm going to use that line too. Can I say, I'm very impressed that you read all of that crayon writing so eloquently.
Yeah, it's written in red crayon. Yeah,
Oh,
can you believe this shit? I mean,
oh man.
and she is a pretty girl, but she ain't that pretty.
Oh well, that's not a good look.
I thought you were like, oh wow.
No. No, that shot definitely encapsulates some crazy.
Okay.
She doesn't have a crazy look in her eyes, but like, yeah, she's got there's a glint behind those. Like,
You got
hey,
the look. You got the look.
you wanna murder my ex-boyfriend
Yeah.
for me?
For no apparent reason. A boy that
right.
did nothing wrong. This is what bothers me.
That's what's I'm totally
How
thrown
are
by.
you,
Like, why?
a 16 and a 17-year-old? I honestly, I'm going to say this and sound like a terrible human being. I honestly understand why David did it more than Meaghan. You know, you can be talked into something. You can be convinced if you're a young boy with, hormonally charged. He was not unattractive, but not like real attractive. He was like a little, redheaded kid who thought he had struck, gold.
Yeah, he's okay. I mean,
he's a cute kid, but she was like the popular girl, and he thought, I've got this girlfriend and I am now legitimate.
yeah, when all the blood rushes away from your brain as a man, I think decision making becomes difficult.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, and that's not. I mean, you say young man. I mean, that's all of us. That's all dudes
17,
are like this.
41.
I just had a conversation with one of my 41-year-old buddies, or about a different one of our 41-year-old buddies, and I'm like, really? He's doing what?
Who had a blood flow issue?
Oh God, this is okay. I mean, because vagina, I get it.
See, that's what I wanted to bring up, and it bothers me a lot that it's like women cause wars, the cause of all conflict. Women.
I don't know. I know that I have personally made some very poor choices with my penis.
I have made some very poor choices with my brain over a dick.
Sure. I mean, that's really what I mean.
Okay. No,
yeah.
You don't.
I mean, I was
with your penis.
I was choosing on behalf.
I like the movement you're making. It's like you're fist fucking the microphone. I don't know what's that. You're like, you're fisting the microphone. What's wrong with you?
Oh man. I mean, I've never hit
murdered
the back
someone.
Seat
Thank you.
And
good.
And stabbed and I feel like at that point, don't just throw the body in a ditch. I mean, try to get away with the crime at that point after you already.
You're 17.
I guess
your fucking amygdala isn't fully formed.
Oh,
the sutures of your skull are not closed. You're 17.
So yeah. Oh man.
Here's something that made me happy. They were both tried as adults.
Well, they were adults at the point of trial, but okay, I hear you.
You know, I can see how it could have been difficult, but I think the nature of the crime really meant that they should be tried as adults, and in my mind. And I'm glad they were.
Yeah, no, totally.
I just feel like if David was given a life sentence, which I agree with, so should Meaghan.
Yeah.
And she's out. Here's another thing.
How's she?
She's good. Does she ask about you?
Did she ask you about me?
No, she didn't.
I mean, what is she doing? I
don't know.
Did she get some? That's what I'm wondering. Did she get some good therapy? And
yeah, let me tell you. How good she did in prison. David has had 0 infractions.
Mm-hmm.
He has worked, as a tutor. He's, an exemplary prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
Meaghan, who got out in December of 2020, had 24 infractions in 9 years.
24 infractions and still did only 9 years of her 12 and a half years.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Because they made a deal with her. And I don't know how, in good conscience, the DA could make a deal with her, because I don't know how you believe anything that comes out of her face.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still wondering, did she planned this thing with David. Did she also have a separate plan going on with Randal at the same time? And just kind of pitted the two of them against each other? Was there more to this story?
That is a prevailing theory. Both of them sort of lined up. I mean, I guess it's really Meaghan's story. It's like Randal was really excited when I picked him up in my dad's truck. He was really happy to see me. That makes sense. It's like, David's headed to his mom's in Salt Lake, so we won't be together anymore. And now you and I can be together.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might be onto something. Why? I don't know that Randal traveled with brass knuckles.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, why do you
Maybe
have
he
brass
did.
knuckles?
I mean, he was a little bit of a tough kid. He was
Sure.
also described as someone with a huge heart and very giving. He was, 17 and had like, gauges in his ears. Doesn't mean a thing. Doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah.
Body modification
Mhm.
is not an indicator of being violent or a murderer.
No, totally. I mean,
And to me, the two things that were found in her truck that were his are a description of a young man who's trying to grow up, an iPod and brass knuckles.
mhm.
An iPod, like the most innocent
Yeah.
thing where when you're a teenager and music is like saving
Yeah,
you
that's
from
it. Like everything.
yeah. I mean, I just feel like he was probably more of the every kid than anyone can imagine. And I'm telling you, every interview with his friends were like, this was a big deal. David, who was also my friend, took a great guy off of the
Right.
planet. It's so, here's another reason. I just didn't want to do this one because of their age and the
Yeah.
evil planning. And they didn't get away with it, thank God, because they were stupid.
Right.
Really stupid. What kind of a plan is that to come up with? Dad, your truck was stolen because it was covered in blood.
Right.
Some guy stole your truck and killed your boyfriend, your ex-boy.
And right.
You know what? I agree with you. There's probably more than we'll ever know. She may have pitted them both against each
Right.
other. It may have been, more of that than anything we could imagine.
And that tells
what's
going on in this girl's head.
At the age of 16?
Right.
At the age of 16, I was really excited that Sean Lafferty asked me to go to the winter dance.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. That was it. I couldn't have manipulated shit, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. No. Well, but you're, I don't know.
I know. I'm not a
You're
killer. I know.
Exactly.
I'm
You're
just
different.
saying, at the age of 16, the fact that, first of all, she's beautiful. Why does she need to pit two young men against each other? Like, was it like whoever's the strongest wins and that'll be the guy for me?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I just wonder what sort of mindset does that. I guess I shouldn't wonder. I should leave that to the professionals, but that's why I didn't want to cover this terrible story.
Yeah,
I can just ask if any of the tipsters live in Arizona and they see her, I wouldn't be adverse to you knocking her down.
Oh, man.
Like maybe a trip and fall on the concrete. I don't know if she still lives in Arizona. I literally don't know anything about her.
Okay.
She may have changed her name. I can tell you there was like a famous, scientist named Meaghan Rice. Not the same person. She did good things for the world.
Okay.
She didn't kill
Fair
her.
enough. I mean, I'm imagining she's got to change her name and move.
I wondered
that
how
can you go back to the same town and you're no.
You know what I think is fascinating?
You got to start a new life after you get out.
Yeah, that Google image search, because there's all of her booking photos.
Oh, sure.
All you have to do is put that picture in. And I guess maybe she doesn't post anything on social media or anything else, because I think it'd be easy to compare pictures, even if her name is now, Susie Smith.
Sure.
As Joshua picks up his phone to Google, where is Susie Smith? Where does she live now?
Oh my gosh.
She's like 31.
My
yeah, your picker's broken. She's 31 now. She was 29 when she got out. So perfect age for you.
I mean,
yeah. She's an adult.
Oh my gosh.
A bad adult.
So hey, slip into my DMs if you're listening.
Yeah, Susie, whatever your name is. I hope you trip and fall.
Oh my gosh.
I guess that's that, because I don't want to talk about this anymore. But if you have something you want to talk about, hopefully you will call us on the Tipster hotline. Mm-hmm. That's 832-847-7837, 832-TIPSTER. Or email us at jttipsters@gmail.com, or any of our social media platforms, the Just the Tipsters Facebook page, JT Tipsters on Instagram, JT Tipsters Pod on Twitter, and more cowbell.
If you would like to support this podcast and get early access and other cool murderous swag, go to patreon.com/justthetipsters.